Hello everyone, welcome to the daily newspaper analysis brought to you by Shankar IAS Academy, 5th December 2024. Displayed here are the list of articles that we will be discussing. The first article, Cheetahs released to mark International Cheetah Day. This article is taken from the newspaper The Hindu, which is talking about release of two cheetahs, that is Vayu and Agni, back to the forest of Madhya Pradesh to mark the International Cheetah Day. And in this article, we will be discussing the basics about cheetah and its role in ecosystem. And then we will be also seeing a prelims previous year question. And article 2, that is production cap chemical ban, why plastic treaty talks collapsed. This article is taken from the newspaper Indian Express. In this article we will be talking about the plastic treaty talks which is recently held in the Busan, the city of South Korea, and why this talk did not meet its objective, and what are the challenges associated with bringing a common legally binding plastic treaty. These are the things that we will be discussing in this topic. Coming to the third topic, after the anomaly alert, ISRO sets PROBA-3 launch for today. This article is talking about a successful space collaboration between Indian Space Research Organization and the European Space Agency, and the mission is PROBA-3, which is launched to observe the corona of the sun. This article is taken from the newspaper The Hindu. Coming to the fourth article, lake effect snow phenomena freezing the Great Lakes region. This article is talking about the physical phenomena called Great Effect Snow. In this article, we will be discussing why this phenomena happens, what are the conditions for the formation of this phenomena, and then we will also see the types of lakes and the role of lake in the ecosystem. This article is taken from the newspaper The Indian Express. So without much delay, let's get into the discussion with the first article. Production cap chemical ban, why global plastic treaty talks failed. We know that pollution is one of the biggest challenges that we are facing in this 21st century. We know that last few weeks the Delhi, the national capital, has been going through severe air pollution with a deteriorating air quality score above 400 in the air quality index. And one of the factors that is contributing to the pollution is plastics. Even though we have advanced technology, we are still confused about this plastic management. Not only India, across the world, communities are confused about this plastic management. So in this context, we have a news article from Indian Express which is talking about the global plastic treaty and why it is failed. So without much delay, let's begin the discussion from the prelims point of view. The global plastic treaty talks was actually started in the year 2022 under the leadership of United Nations Environment Assembly. The objective of this talk is to bring a legally binding treaty on plastic pollution by the year 2024. And this year, the fifth round of this conference was held in the city of Busan, that is in South Korea. And unfortunately, the meeting did not meet its objective. Therefore, they decided to go for another round of meeting in the year 2025 in the name of INC 5.2, that is United Nations Intergovernmental Negotiation Committee 5.2. Moving on, now we are going to see what is the necessity for such a global plastic treaty, or why we need a global plastic treaty. The first major reason is the rising plastic production. If you take, the estimation says that since 2000, the global plastic has been doubled, the quantity has been doubled, and we are expecting a plastic quantity of 700 million by the year 2024. And the next biggest concern is the environmental damage. We know that the plastic is, it takes a lot of time to degrade, and it, in another sense, it is not at all degrading. And the biggest concern associated with the plastic management is the collection of the plastic. And so far, only 9% of the global plastic has been recycled every year. And the next is human and wildlife impact. We know that plastic is not a degradable matter. Therefore, it is a foreign object for our bodies, not only for humans, for animals too. If you expose to the plastic pollution for a very long time, the human will suffer from a lot of health concerns, including pulmonary issues and cardiovascular problems. The microplastics. The microplastics will enter the human body and it can create blockage in the artery and can cause permanent cardiovascular problems in the human beings. Coming to the case of wild animals, the plastic has a capacity to enter the food chain. It will enter the animal body when they eat or when they grazing, and through the biomagnification they will enter into the food chain, and that will also ultimately reach the humans only. And the next major reason is the climate change. The plastic is one of the important reason behind the greenhouse gas emission. Therefore, it has a capacity to make the climate change even worse. Moving on, what were the major points of disagreement in the global plastic treaty talks held in the Busan? The first major disagreement is related to the plastic production limits. For example, the nations like Norway, Rwanda, and the European Union supported the reduction of plastic, which uses petroleum as raw material. While on the other side, nations like India and Saudi Arabia opposed to this, saying that the restrictions on the plastic production will affect their economy. And the next concern is related to the development. And the biggest concern was raised by India, because in India we have the plastic industry. It is contributing for an economic growth of nearly, in India the plastic industry is contributing nearly 2 million metric ton of plastic annually, and it is giving employment for nearly 4 million people annually. So if you put restrictions on the plastic, then it will affect the economic interest of India or India like nations. The next major reason for the disagreement was the unacceptable targets. The objective of this plastic treaty was to bring a legally binding plastic treaty by the year 2040, which is just 15 years away. And we know that if you put the restrictions on plastic, then it can affect the economy of the nation, and it can even bring a lot of confusions related to our daily activities too. Therefore, the objective or the target of this treaty is it was not acceptable for many nations. And the next point of concern was related to the scope of the treaty. Certain nations wanted to treat the plastic fully, from that means from the point of it manufactured to the disposal. But certain nations like Oman and Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, they wanted only to focus on management of this plastic waste. So this brought another rift between the supporting nations and the opposing nations. The next concern is related to the economy and the trade. We know that restricting the plastic can affect the plastic industry in developing nations as well as in developed nations, and it can also bring concerns because of the for example, the toy industries will be affected once you put restrictions on the plastic. This can bring several concerns for the nations which is depending on plastic industries. Coming to the challenges associated with bringing a common legally binding treaty on plastic pollution. The first major challenge is the conflicting interest between the developing and developed nations related to the restrictions of plastic. And the next is funding issues. We know that we can go for sustainable plastic management even today, but it is really costly. At the same time, it is not affordable for low income as well as even for the middle income countries. And the next concern is associated with the trade. That means the restricting the plastic commodities can affect can bring trade restrictions, which will eventually affect the trade relations between the nations and across the world. And the next is lack of a political will to balance the economic growth with the environmental goals. The nation governments will always have a confusion to go for economic growth or environmental sustainability. So such kind of lack of political will can also act as a challenge for bringing a common legally binding treaty which addresses the plastic pollution. So in this topic we discussed what is global plastic treaty talks, what was its objective, why it is failed, and what are the challenges associated with this. So based on our understanding, try to answer this prelims practice question. The question is, which of the primary raw material used to produce most plastics? Option A, wood. Option B, petroleum. Option C, natural gas. And option D, coal. Just now we talked about this. Petroleum is the right answer because we already said that the petrochemical nations such as Middle Eastern nations like Saudi Arabia, Oman, Bahrain, they are they are the one actually opposed to this global plastic treaty. Therefore, the answer is option B. Petroleum is the raw material used for producing most of the plastics. If you restrict the petroleum, if you restrict the plastic production, then it will also affect the the petrochemical nations. So remember that. Now it's time to move to the next article. After anomaly alert, ISRO sets PROBA-3 launch for today. We know that considering the recent times, India has made significant progress in the space sector, and we are going for an exclusive space sector for India in the year 2030s, right? And this article, which is taken from the newspaper Indian Express, is talking about a successful space collaboration between ISRO and the European Space Agency. And the mission was PROBA-3. The launching facilities were provided by ISRO, and while the satellites were developed by the European Space Agency. and the collaboration was facilitated by the NSIL, that is National Space India Limited. It is a commercial arm of ISRO, that is Indian Space Research Organization, which facilitates the collaboration within the country and outside the country. Actually, the launch was planned for yesterday at 4:08 p.m. While due to certain reasons it got postponed, and the launching will be take place this evening at 4:10 p.m. So let us discuss more about the mission from the prelims point of view. First, we are going to see the mission's overview. The launch vehicle used for the mission is PSLV, that is Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle C-59, and the organizations involved in this mission are ISRO and the European Space Agency. ISRO provided the launching facility while the satellites were developed by Space Agency of Europe. And the primary objective of the scheme is, and the primary objective of the mission is to observe the sun's corona. So we know that if you take the sun, we will be having three important layers, right? The inner layer is known as core, and the outer layer next to the inner layer is known as radiative zone, and the layer next to the radiative zone is known as convection layer, right? Or convection zone, and the outer part of the sun is known as corona. So the purpose of the mission is to study the corona of the sun, which will be very useful in understanding the solar activities such as solar flares, solar winds and all, which is very important for efficient communication, because you know the solar winds have a capacity even to disrupt the satellites and the communication. So if you can understand more about the such phenomena, then we can ensure the efficiency of the communication without any disruption. Coming to the launching details of this mission, the launching location was Satish Dhawan Space Center at Sriharikota, and the launching weight and the payload weight is around 550 kilogram, and the mission duration is approximately 18 minutes, and in this 18 minutes the rocket will place the satellites in the orbit. Coming to the facts related to the PROBA-3, it is developed by ESA, and it is a world's first precision formation flying mission. What is mean by precision formation flying mission? See, the primary objective of this mission is to study the corona of the sun, right? They are using two satellites to observe the sun. Actually, the system is working like, imagine that this is the one satellite, this is this is coronagraph satellite. They are using two spacecraft. First one is the coronagraph spacecraft, and the second one is the occulter spacecraft. So imagine that this is the coronagraph spacecraft and this is the occulter spacecraft. So what happens is this occulter spacecraft will prevent the sun rays, while the corona spacecraft will observe the corona of the sun without any disruption. So that is how the mission is going to work. And what is mean by precision? That means that precision formation flying means two spacecraft or two objects working at the maximum precision for a particular task. So here you can see two spacecraft, they are working for same mission with the maximum precision. Even though there is a 150-meter distance between two spacecraft, they won't even move 1 or 2 inches forward or 1 or 2 inches backward. They will stay at the at the maximum precision to make the mission successful. So that is how the mission is going to work. And the purpose of this mission, like I mentioned in the beginning, observing the sun's corona. Coming to the key instruments on board in the PROBA-3, the first one is the association of spacecraft polarimetry and imaging investigation of corona of sun. So this refers to the coronagraph designed to observe the inner and outer part of the sun's corona. The second instrument is the digital absolute radiometer. It measures the total solar irradiance. And the third is 3D electronic energy spectrometer. It analyzes electron fluxes in the Earth's radiation belt. So these are the three instruments on board of PROBA-3 satellites, and just not the names, they are very important. Coming to the next topic, that is the benefits for India. So from this mission, what are the benefits for India? First one is it will enhance India's reputation in the field of space. So we can provide a low cost service with the maximum efficiency. And the second benefit is the access to scientific data through collaborating with the other nations. And the next is the synergies with the India's Aditya L1 mission boost solar research and weather forecasting. So these are the major benefits associated with the PROBA-3 mission. And based on this understanding, let us move to the prelims practice question. The question is, consider the following statements about the launch details of PSLV C-59 or PROBA-3 mission. Statement 1, the mission aims to deploy the PROBA-3 satellites into the geostationary orbit. And the statement 2, the total weight of the PROBA-3 satellites is 550 kilogram. And the statement 3, the mission will last approximately 18 minutes. Which of the statements is or are correct? Option A, 1 and 2 only. Option B, 2 and 3 only. Option C, 1 and 3 only, and option D, 1, 2 and 3. The correct answer is option B, 1 and 3 only. The mission aims to deploy PROBA-3 satellites into elliptical orbits, not the geostationary orbit. So with this, we will move to the next article. Cheetahs released to mark International Cheetah Day. The article is taken from the newspaper The Hindu, which is talking about the release of two cheetahs, that is Vayu and Agni, back to the forest of Kuno National Park in Madhya Pradesh to mark the International Cheetah Day. And hereafter, the tourists who are visiting the Kuno National Park will get an opportunity to witness these majestic animals. So in this background, considering the International Cheetah Day, we are going to discuss more about the cheetah from prelims point of view. First, we'll start with the basics about the International Cheetah Day. It is observed on every 4th December to generate awareness about the cheetah conservation, about its role in ecosystem balancing and all. And it was founded by the Cheetah Conservation Fund, founded by the Dr. Laurie Marker. And the key area of work are focusing on habitat loss, poaching, and man-animal conflict. So these are the major reasons behind the declining cheetah population across the world. Coming to the overview about the cheetah, the scientific name of this animal is known as Echinonyx jubatus. And we know that cheetah, tiger, cats, everything belongs to the same family. Coming to the physical features of this cheetah, they have a slim and aerodynamic body which helps them to run faster. Therefore, cheetah is the fastest animal on this land. And they have a non-retractable claws, the muscular legs, which is supporting them to run faster. And if you look the skin of this cheetah, they have a tear black mark and a black spots, which will help them to hide in grasslands and savannas. And another important interesting factor related to this cheetah is that they can run up to 120 kilometers per hour. And you have to understand that they can run the maximum speed at 120 kilometers per hour, but they can accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour in less than 3 seconds. So imagine if you got before this cheetah, then there is no way to escape from this animal. Coming to the diet, cheetahs are carnivorous, hunts medium to small sized animals such as gazelles, springboks, and impalas. Coming to the subspecies of cheetahs, we have three important subspecies. First one is Southern African cheetah, second one is Asian cheetah, and the third one is Northeast African cheetah. Southern African cheetah, it is also known as Echinonyx jubatus, and it is found in the nations like Namibia, Botswana, and South Africa, and they are the largest subspecies of cheetah. And coming to the Northeast African cheetah, they are found in the nations of Sudan, Ethiopia, and Somalia. And but these cheetahs are relatively smaller and slender. And coming to Asia, Asian cheetahs, according to the IUCN status, they are considered as critically endangered, and they are found in Iran only at present time. Coming to the conservation status of this cheetah, in the IUCN red list, it is considered as vulnerable. So in the prelims, there can be two questions you can expect. First, they can ask about the conservation status of Asian cheetah. If they are asking about the Asian cheetah, then you have to go with the critically endangered status. If they are asking generally about cheetah, then you have to go with the option vulnerable. Please note, this can be a confusing area. And currently the population is less than 7,000 in the wild, and the major threats, like I mentioned in the very beginning, habitat loss, man-animal conflict, poaching, and genetic bottleneck. Genetic bottleneck means low genetic diversity among the cheetahs. Coming to the role of cheetahs in the environment, they are known as the apex predators because they controls the herbivorous population, because they are mostly hunting the deers and all. So they will balance the ecosystem through maintaining the population of herbivores, and maintains the biodiversity, that is prevents the overgrazing. For example, if you imagine that in an ecosystem, if there is too much cattle or herbivores, then overgrazing will happen. If overgrazing happens, eventually the soil will degrade, and soil erosion will happen. The land will eventually deteriorate. So the cheetahs plays an important role in protecting the land from getting degraded. So thus it ultimately maintains the balance in the ecosystem. Coming to the conservation policies of the cheetah, first one is Wildlife Protection Act in 1972. Actually, currently the cheetahs are not listed in this Wildlife Protection Act, but if they are listed, then they are eligible for the protection under the Wildlife Protection Act Schedule 1. Then CITES, that is Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, and the cheetahs are protected under Appendix 1, which prohibits the international trade of this animal for illegal activities. And the next we have the Forest Conservation Act 1980. This act protects the habitat of the animals because they will regulate the conversion of the forest for non-forest purposes. And then we have the National Wildlife Action Plan 2017-31, which is also focusing on recovery of species. And we can say that the reintroduction of cheetah under the collaboration of Namibia, South Africa and India is also a part of this National Wildlife Action Plan 2017-31. Then we have the Biodiversity Act 2002. This Biodiversity Act 2002, it is ensuring that the sustainable use of biological resources, and the reintroduction of cheetah is also a part of, it is aligning with the principles of this Biodiversity Act 2002. In this topic we discussed the cheetah, its physical features, its scientific name, its conservation status, and the role of cheetah in the ecosystem management, right? So based on this understanding, try to answer this prelims previous year question. This question was actually asked in the year 2012 in UPSC prelims. 1. Black-necked crane, 2. Cheetah, 3. Flying squirrel, and 4. Fourth one, snow leopard. Which of the animals are naturally found in India? The options are 1, 2 and 3 only, option B 1, 3 and 4 only, option C 2 and 4 only, and option D 1, 2, 3 and 4. The answer is option B 1, 3 and 4 only. Cheetahs are not naturally found in India after 1950. And now we have cheetah, they are reintroduced. The answer is option B 1, 3 and 4 only. With this, we will move to the next article. Lake effect snow phenomena freezing the Great Lake regions. This article is taken from the newspaper Indian Express, which is talking about a physical phenomena called lake effect snow, which is currently giving severe snowfall in the regions around the Great Lakes in USA, that is New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio and Michigan. They received nearly 1.2 meters of snow since the last Friday. So in this background, let us discuss more about the lake effect snow. First, we are going to see the definition for this phenomena. So it happens when a cold mass of cold air picks up moisture from warm lake water or water bodies and gives precipitation in other region as snow. So you can see this diagram here. So this is the diagram which is explaining the phenomena lake effect snow. So here you can see a warm water body, and here you can see a cold wind, and then here you can see fall of snow, right? So what happens in this phenomena is that this warm water, this cold wind will collect, blowing from this direction, will collect moisture from this warm water body, and it will give snowfall in high altitude region or in other region. And sometimes if the situation is very severe, certain regions will receive nearly 3 to 4 meters, nearly 3 to 4 feet of snowfall in a day, and that can disrupt the local life of that region. So this phenomena is known as lake effect snow. Coming to the conditions for this lake effect snow, what are the conditions? Let's see. First one is the warm lake water to give enough moisture. Second, presence of a cold air to collect this moisture from the warm water, and the presence of a strong wind, for example wind like Arctic wind, to move this cold air from one region to another region, and then the presence of open water surface. These are the primary conditions for the formation of this lake effect snow. What are the regions majorly affected due to this phenomena? Like mentioned in the news, the Great Lakes in USA, Baltic Sea and Caspian Sea. These are the regions which are primarily affected due to the lake snow effect. And what is the connection with India? Does India experience this phenomena? Actually no, but instead of that we have another phenomena, that is western disturbance. In India we have snowfall only in the in the Himalayan region. Other areas we don't have the snowfall, but instead of that we have western disturbance. It is almost similar like this lake snow effect, or it is almost similar like this lake effect snow. And in this western disturbance we know that the westerlies will collect moisture from the Mediterranean Sea, and it will give precipitation in the form of rainfall in the northwestern part of India, that is in the state of Rajasthan and Punjab. and this will support the winter crops in the winter season. So this is somewhat similar to the lake effect snow. Coming to the types of lakes, first one is tectonic lakes. These are the lakes which are formed due to the tectonic activity. For example, the Lake Baikal in Russia. And then we have the volcanic lakes which are formed due to volcanic activity. For example, in India we have a lunar lake in state of Madhya Pradesh, which is formed as a result of meteor impact in Pleistocene epoch. And other than that, we also have a volcanic lake. For example, caldera volcanoes can extend and eventually becomes large caldera lakes. And then we have the glacial lakes, which are formed due to the retreat of glacier from the higher altitudes. And we already discussed, we know that in the snow will be collected in that region. When the glacier started retreating, moraines will form a dam. The melted glacier will form glacial lakes between the higher altitude region and the moraine dam. So this is how the glacial lakes are formed. The best example is Pangong Lake. And artificial reservoirs, these are man-made lakes for domestic and commercial purposes of man. And coming to the notable lakes in India, we have Bular Lakes, which is located in Jammu and Kashmir. It is the largest freshwater lake in India, and the regulator for of water to this lake is Jhelum, one of the tributaries of Indus River. And next we have the Chilka River, which is located in the state of Odisha. It is the largest brackish water lagoon, and the Nalaban Bird Sanctuary is located here. And then we have the Sambar Lake, which is located in Rajasthan, and it is the largest inland saltwater lake. And then we have the Loktak Lake in the state of Manipur. And then we have the Loktak Lake in the state of Manipur. And another interesting fact regarding this lake is that you can see floating islands known as Pumdis in this lake. And the Kabul Lamjo National Park, it is a floating national park, is located in this lake only. It is an integral part of this lake. And coming to the ecosystem role of this lake, first one, it is supporting the biodiversity. For example, the lakes are supporting diverse aquatic life. At the same time, it is a spot for migratory birds. For example, you can spot flamingos from the northern region in Chilka Lake during their migratory time. And then we have the climate regulation. We know that in the lake, another physical feature about this lake is that we can see thermal stratification. That means the upper layer of this lake will warmer while the lower layer will be colder. Therefore, the lake can regulate the heat of a particular region. For example, during the winter time, the lake will be relatively warmer than the surroundings. Therefore, it will maintain the heat in that region. In the summer time, the lake will be relatively cooler than the surrounding. Therefore, it will, in that way also, it will regulate the temperature of that particular region. And the next is precipitation influence. For example, the lakes act as a source of moisture for precipitation in certain areas. Just like I mentioned in the news, the lake effect snow is also a result of the precipitation influence done by the lake. And then acting as carbon sink, the lake can sequester the natural carbons, and this can prevent the rise of emission of carbon dioxide into atmosphere. And then acting as water and nutrient cycle, act as a source of irrigation, at the same time provides nutrition for the aquatic and migratory birds. And next function performed by the lake is flood control and groundwater recharge. For example, during the time of heavy rainfall, the lakes will absorb, or the lake will act as natural reservoirs and will hold will collect the water. And it, at the same time, it also plays an important role in recharging the groundwater in that particular region. And apart from the ecosystem role, the lakes also performs cultural and economic roles. For example, the Pushkar Lake in Rajasthan is considered as an important sacred site in India, while the Dal Lake in Jammu Kashmir is an important tourist destination. Coming to the prelims practice question, which one of the lakes of the West Africa has become dry and turned into desert? This question was asked in the UPSC prelims in 2022. Option A, Lake Victoria. Option B, Lake Fagubian. Option C, Lake Oguta. And option D, Lake Volta. The answer is option B, Lake Fagubian. So with this, we will move to our next article. With this, we are coming to the conclusion for today's newspaper analysis. If you like the video, hit the like button and give your feedbacks as comments and share this content with your friends. And before leaving this channel, don't forget to subscribe to Shankar IAS Academy and also hit the bell icon to receive on-time update. Thank you. Have a nice day.